Okay. Hi, good evening to all. I, Dr. Sudhir Joshi, Head Department of Aerospace Engineering, welcome all participation to this session, The Future of Aerospace and Avionics Engineering. Brief about the aerospace engineering is the branch of engineering where we primarily deal with the aircraft design, spacecraft, missiles, and satellite. In addition to this, the engineers create and test the prototype to make sure that they function properly. We will discuss in this forum about the future prospects of the aerospace engineering, how it is growing in India, what are the challenges before and after the COVID, what we are facing, and then we will come to the specific questions you have, and you will find a question and answers chat box at the bottom of this ribbon, so you can post your questions. We are having a technical experts with us who will address your queries, and so on we will proceed. So before we start, let me give you a brief introduction of the technical experts we have with us. I welcome Mr. Alok, who is the regional manager of the Fluodyne, and he is having an experience of more than 15 years in a top-notch organizations like Dassault, and he has worked with the Autodesk and presently working in one of the biggest simulation company, that is the Fluodyne. He has worked closely with DRDO, HAL, ISRO for simulation related and the product related work. Another we have Mr. Shadab, who is our alumni, and he has graduated from UPS from branch BTech Aerospace with a specialization in avionics. Shadab has got placed from the campus in the Indigo Airlines, and he is working as a technical officer. So, coming to the brief about the aerospace, what are the aerospace future? It is the one of the most important branch of engineering, which has helped the humankind to dominate into the skies and above. Looking into the 1990s, when we have only 2 passenger aircraft, from the time now, the aircrafts are flying with almost 830 passenger capacity aircraft, what we have Airbus 380. So how the technology has advancement in the coming years and over the decade is just the reflect of these. Here are astronauts working on the manned missions. ISRO, if you look into this, are planning for Gaganyaan with the success story of Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan. The space community is planning many more exciting missions. The aerospace and avionics industry in India now growing in many folds. Particularly exponential, there is a growth in this industry. Starting from OEMs, like the big names, if I just call it the Airbus, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, which are the one of the biggest name in the industry, are now have the development center in the India. The future of the aerospace seems to be tremendous, and it is growing exponentially. If you talk about manufacturing side, India has again did a lot in terms manufacturing. Tata Advanced System in the Hyderabad, you have Mahindra, you have Reliance. They all have entered into the manufacturing sector. Now, I'll just over to Mr. Alok, and Mr. Alok, how you in India before COVID and after COVID-19 in terms of what are the challenges and in terms of what are the future opportunities lies in this field.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. So it's a very predominant questions. COVID effects nowadays. We are facing such a vulnerable situation. So before COVID and after COVID, let me tell you, I mean, there's a very bright future for aerospace and defense, because recently, if you have observed, our finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, has said they have actually increased the FDI in defense sector from 49% to 70%, which means like there will be a possibility of, I mean, and they have even a lot of government formalities in terms of the investment. So we have good companies like Boeing, Airbus, Dassault, and the suppliers like Samtel, uh, and lot many big players are there in India. But after this type of government initiative, it will be definitely boosting this space like anything. Plus there are a lot of suppliers. These names are very familiar to each and everyone, but these companies are, they sell the product, but product consists of lot of small assembly of small products which another industry makes. So I mean, I believe you might have heard of defense corridor, which is extend starting from I mean, there are two defense corridor in India. One is from Lucknow to Jhansi, another is from Chennai to I mean 200 kilometers stretch deep south. So all the place is being awarded to aerospace, defense, avionic industries. I mean, government is inviting these companies, and a lot of scope is there.
Fine. Thank you, Mr. Alok, for addressing this query. And in fact, we see that the kind of shift right now in the mindset of particularly in the manufacturing sector, what we see in the shift towards from China to India in the present scenario, already we have gone a long way in the manufacturing. Many of the parts of the airlines like Lockheed Martin, if you look into the Lockheed Martin, the complete fuselage of C-130J aircraft is now being manufactured in India. And Boeing has come up and they are doing the manufacturing setup in India. Rafale, recently you have seen that they have came into the India. HAL working.
HAL has its own aircraft, Dornier aircraft.
Yeah.
So we are working very closely with HAL Kanpur, and Dornier aircraft, I mean, it's a 22-seater aircraft. It is specially meant for VVIP people. And now, I mean, I can confidently say, like, government of India has a complete capability of making at least this type of aircrafts. So, I mean, we are at least one step closer to a bigger aircraft. So, I mean, it's successfully moving, sir.
In fact, the private player has played a great role in shaping the future of the aerospace in India, like Mahindra Aerospace, Tata Comm System, and the Reliance Defense.
Reliance Defense, Mahindra Defense System. I mean, Mahindra Defense System, a huge setup in Palwal, near to Delhi NCR. I mean, they are manufacturing everything. I mean, they are manufacturing bulletproof. They are augmenting Scorpios and they are making it bulletproof. They are making a lot of things, and they are supplying to not only India, but Saudi Arabia also.
Over to, I'll just now go to Shadab, who have been to the Indigo, one of the biggest fleet in the aircraft with the Indigo, one of the biggest airlines in India. Shadab, how you look after the future in airlines right now, when so much of stagnation has come up in this side?
Thank you so much. First of all, good afternoon, Mr. Alok and Dr. Sudhir. Thank you for having me here. First of all, I'd like to say that pursuing aerospace engineering and with specialization in avionics from University of Petroleum and Energy Studies was a very unique kind of an opportunity which I had, because I had already set my mind that I'll have to pursue aerospace. career in aerospace, and before entering UPS, I had little idea about the avionics side. So UPS counseling sessions, which we are having one right now, were the sole reason why I understood what is the difference between aerospace and avionics, and how, like, what pushed me towards pursuing aerospace with specialization in avionics and not just the aerospace engineering. Getting back to the question which Dr. Sudhir just asked me, according to me, airline industry is an ever increasing market in the, especially in the Indian subcontinent, because the aerospace and defense market in India itself is estimated to reach around 70 billion by 2030. And as the momentum is expected to increase despite of the COVID-19, because this COVID-19 pandemic definitely has hit, majorly it has hit the aviation and airline industry along with the hospitality industry, of course. But COVID-19, eventually it is going to pass. Vaccinations are in process, and there are a lot of medication which has already been proven very successful in culminating the virus. But more importantly, recently I was looking at what WHO has to say about COVID-19. They were very clear that it doesn't matter vaccines are available in the market or not. We have to learn to live with the virus. So ultimately, the motto given by the global health services is that you have to learn, you have to adapt to live alongside COVID-19 in its sole existence. So despite of that, eventually humanity has always prospered, and so will it be. So even if you take in mind the lag which is caused by COVID-19, despite of that, there is much potential that improving infrastructure and government trust will, at the end, result in a better developed aerospace and defense industry. And if there is a better developed aerospace industry, that obviously leads towards a better airline and aviation market in the country. So if we talk about the growth in terms of the last 10 to 20 years, I've got some statistics here with me. Growth of airlines and passenger traffic in India has been highly rapid in the past 5 years at over 15% per year. And this has increased from around 70 to 200 million passengers in the past 10 years. So you can see in the past 10 years, there has been many, the stock market crash was there. There was other influenza pandemics were there. And there were other health or financial devastation or phenomenon going on around the world in different regions. Despite of that, in the past 10 years, we are seeing a direct 15% increase in the passengers who are traveling from one place to the other via the airline industry. And if passengers are becoming more and more confident and apt towards using the airlines, using the aviation sector for their own day-to-day transportation, that means that aerospace and defense not just is limited towards, nation safety or navigation or communication purposes, which affect like global phenomenon, but aerospace is also being incorporated into day-to-day life of all individuals. Honeywell is, as Dr. Alok said, that there are a lot of market players in India as well who are manufacturing components for the tier 1 OEMs situated in France and Germany and so on and so forth. So one of those OEMs is Honeywell. So Honeywell produces emergency location locator and transmitter (ELT) devices, which are location devices fitted in all the commercial airliners there are right now in the market. And Honeywell also produces VGA to HDMI cable, which we use in our day-to-day lives. So aerospace is not just an industry meant for not just the bigger picture covering the global phenomenon. It also comes down to the basic requirement of human life, day-to-day requirements. Getting back to some more statistics, number of flyers from India to international travel is also estimated to be around 100 million in the last year only. So this actually leads towards supply and demand. Aerospace industry creates supply for the components, aircrafts, equipments, you name it. And the airline industry, aviation industry from which I belong, is the consumer end of this industry. So the food chain has to complete. If there's only supply and there is no demand, that's a flaw, and vice versa is also a negative environment. There has to be there has to be an equilibrium between the supply and the demand. So airline industry and the aerospace industry works in equilibrium and creates this amazing food chain, which not just impacts the worldwide phenomenon, but is also very much essential in our day-to-day lives. Over to you, Dr. Sunil.
Thank you, Shadab. A very good statistics you have presented, and you have just given the overview how the airline industry in the past couple of years has grown into multidimensional, and it seems that there seems to be an exponential growth in terms of the passenger load.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the airline part, and the same thing has happened in terms of the design and in terms of the manufacturing side. You look into the design side, the biggest giants of the design, the Airbus, the Boeing, and particularly when we talk about our own in-house organizations like Indian Space Research Organization, which has come a long way with the Gaganyaan and with the success story of Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan. The space community is planning many more such exciting missions now. So future seems to be, I feel that there are a lot of opportunities where the students should explore these kinds of areas. In terms of you look into the space side, ISRO doing many much such things, whereas in the aircraft side, you have Airbus offices in the Bangalore, Boeing, they have a Center for Excellence, and one of the biggest organizations is the UTAS, United Technology Aerospace System, which have their own setup. They have almost 3,000 to 4,000 employees there. So the kinds of growth and the kinds of challenge, the fascination towards this line is very good. A good statistics, both Alok and Shadab, you have shared with us. Where I'll just give you, Alok Sahab, I'll just give you some of the glimpse of what we have in the Department of the Aerospace.
Okay.
And
sir, I want to add something. I mean, there is a future of, space tourism.
Yes.
So space tourism is a factor. Every big, developed country and developing countries running behind it. So all the R&D companies are actually coming to India, and I would want to share one status. Out of all big R&D companies, around 35% R&D are Indian origin. So the companies are coming to India not only setting up the manufacturing plant, but also for the R&D purposes also, sir. For example, Dassault System and similar companies, they are having MOUs signed with a lot of DRDO labs. Just want to give you one number to your aspirants. DRDO has a project value $7.5 billion. That is only for R&D sectors. Once this R&D is being done, the manufacturing will happen. So opportunities will be, enormous, sir.
Yeah, definitely, even the DRDO, there is a very exciting project going on that we call it as a HSTDV, that is Hypersonic Transport Demonstrated Vehicle.
Yes.
They have recently did the test flight of that. Shadab, would you like to add anything?
Yes, sir. I was actually waiting for an opportunity to throw some light on maintenance, repair, overhaul stations. So
Yeah,
MROs, in short.
Thank you very much. Thank you that you have touched a very important area for the aerospace aspirant students. MRO is again one of the biggest areas.
So MROs are actually essential because there are certain types of checks like C checks and B checks, which all the airlines can't pursue. They either don't have the certification given by DGCA or the local operator of that particular country, or they don't have the equipment or manpower to carry it out on like in-house procedures to like carry out in adherence to whatever the CMM and AMM are being provided by Airbus or Boeing or whosoever is the original equipment manufacturer. So as far as the statistics are concerned, the MRO industry, the market for repairs and maintenance services for aircraft is itself like expected to touch 4 billion by 2025. And even if you incorporate COVID-19 phenomenon into it, COVID-19 will add max to max 1.5 years of lag in this. So still 2027, the target is still 4 billion. 4 billion revenues from just MROs. Right now, for example, Indigo Airlines, they are outsourcing the MROs to Sri Lanka, Indonesia, Malaysia. But by 2025, we are having at least 4 to 5 MROs set up in India, which will again open a lot of doors for a lot of opportunities in terms of aircraft maintenance engineers, ground check engineers, ramp engineers, and the list is just endless. You just have to clear some DGCA papers. You just have to clear some certifications from the OEM, type rating, which we call type rating in the industry. And after that certificate, you have the biggest opportunity to work on an entire Airbus A380 aircraft, A350 aircraft, depending on the type rating license you have. So that's an amazing feeling to be able to phenomenal machine, be it Boeing 747, 787 as SpiceJet has, or be the A320 Neos, the ATR aircraft, which is a 72-seater propeller-driven aircraft, which we have. The list is endless, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shadab. That this was another a very big area, what we call it as a maintenance, repair, and overall. And in India, till date, we haven't done much in this line. But recently, when I came across one of the director of Ministry of Defense, a kind of new initiative which the government has taken for to develop the MRO base in India seems to be a good sign, where a lot of opportunities are going to generate in this area. If again we talk about the some couple of years back, some 5 to 10 years back, the aircraft C and D check, what you are mentioning, the aircraft has to go into the Singapore for the servicing part. But since the development and the initiative of the government, if these kinds of checks are going to take place in the India, naturally lot of opportunities are going to create in this line. So thank you, Shadab, for this. I'll just brief you the Department of Aerospace Engineering. The Department of Aerospace Engineering offers 2 undergraduate programs and 1 postgraduate. The undergraduate program is, one is BTech Space Engineering, and the another is BTech Aerospace with specialization in avionics. BTech Aerospace offers the design of the aircraft, the analysis part of the aircraft, and it deals with the rockets, missiles, helicopter. Whereas when you talk about BTech Aerospace with specialization in avionics, avionics is nothing but the electronics parts of the aircraft. When you look into the dashboard, whatever the electronics things are there, these all are falls under the category of the avionics part. The radar, what the pilot does, the communication with the ground, navigation part. So all these things falls under the avionics. So we have one branch which is pure BTech Aerospace Engineering, where we covered the design of the aircraft, the missile. Another one we have specialization, where the part of the curriculum is aerospace and the specialization goes for the avionics side, which is the electronics parts of the aircraft. Looking into the department, I'll just give you a glimpse of achievements. But not only I'll say that the faculty, but the students of the UPL of the aerospace department, from the time it is inception of this department, the student itself has brought many glories, many fame, not only to the UPS, but they have proud the complete India for that. I have some data with me to share that in 2012, the students of the Department of Aerospace and Avionics Engineering, they have won the NASA System Engineering Award. That was the first time that the award has been brought by the department, by the Indian students. In 2016, one of the famous global competition in the aerospace, what we call it the CANSET, It's a global competition. 2016, when the student participated in that competition, the student brought overall globally 4th position. Subsequent to the next year in 2017, they came up globally number 1. All over the India, the UPS students came number 1 in the aerospace competition, which has made not only the UPS, not only I'll say the state of Uttarakhand, but the complete India proud of that at that time. Again in subsequent year 2016, one of the famous organization in the aerospace, Lockheed Martin, has rolled out a challenge among all the Indian universities that we call it as a role design challenge. It was one of the toughest challenge. Shalabh, I think you must be knowing this part. And it was one of the toughest challenge because the design was to design a payload for C-130J aircraft, and which should meet the complete disaster mitigation. The students of, I'll say that it was a mix of a multidisciplinary project where complete project was handled by a multidisciplinary department from someone from the mechanical, someone from the electrical, and part from the aerospace, and from the design department. So the UPS students, electronics department, avionics students, and the UPS students has brought the glory, and they have won almost 65,000 US dollar for that. The things won't stop here itself. In 2017 and 18, again the students of UPS has brought 2 successive competitions in their hand, the awards. One was the National Aerospace Design Competition that we call it as a NACDEC. It was organized by IIT, and then the Society of Automotive Engineer SE Aero Design Challenge. The challenge was in a set of dimensions they give us. The dimensions are freeze. Now you design an aircraft which should take off with a maximum payload. And the design was, it complete the student has to design an aircraft which should be unique enough, should carry the maximum payload, and within the power and everything dimensions are fixed. So the students has participated all over the India, the students has participated. Again, the UPS student has brought that glory to that. The faculty, talking about the faculty, the Department of Aerospace has the faculty from all over the India, from a top-notch institutions, IIT, BIT, and IIT Kanpur, IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, BITS Mesra. So even from the UK, we have some faculty who did some master programs from the UK. There are some faculty who has performed great, and they brought again awards. One of the faculty has brought the Best Mentor Award by mentoring the students, and few of the faculty has got some a good membership from top-notch organizations in the aerospace. So these are a few of the glimpses of the aerospace department. There are few facilities which I thought it's good that I should inform that. When you talk about the facility of the aerospace department of the UPS, we have a very high-end, one of the most important instruments what is required for the aerospace engineering is a wind tunnel. We have a very, very high-end wind tunnel with us, with having all the latest technology, what is required for the simulation. Even we can generate the smoke, we can clearly visualize how the streamline pattern, how the flow is getting simulated. As we have, then we have a propulsion lab, we have a live engine with us of the MiG-29 aircraft. We have a computational, high-end computational lab we have dedicated aero modeling facility we have, which is one of its kind, I'll say that we have now with us, whereas students goes and train themselves in making a small aircraft, and they've built, fly, and test the aircrafts. So, and then again, we have the structures lab, which is equipped with all the instruments, and there the students test the structural integrity, what is required for the individual components of the aircraft. When it goes into the aircraft, they test the structure analysis, the stress analysis, the buckling, how much the deformations. So When it comes to the facility, the UPS has the world-class facility in terms of the lab, in terms of the infrastructure we have. For the terms of the students grooming, we take the students to the industrial visit to various organizations like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Defense Research Development Organization. We take into different organizations just to impart that each and every organization should give the students a free-hand knowledge in terms of what the organization is doing. We take the students to HAL to see how the production and the assembly lines of the aircraft normally take place. What is the process of the assembly of an aircraft? How an aircraft comes from zero to final of the ground testing part. Then we take the students to R&D labs, DRDL labs, where they see that the high-end research, how it is going on, how the missiles and the rockets are going on. Similarly, for the avionics students, we take the students to Honeywell. There they see what are the electronics components, how are they functioning, how are they do the testings of that. We take the students to different avionics labs and they test and they see each and everything, how the things are getting progress and what are the new technologies which now the industries are implementing into the aerospace. This is one part. Another very important thing is that during this particularly COVID-19 scenario, the UPS and the has taken a great initiative in conducting some of the masterclass session, where we brought the industry virtually to the students. We brought the industry experts and they are just guiding the students in terms of the project, in terms of the latest technology, in terms of delivering the lecture, and in whatever the way the industry can support, the UPS has gone all the way to help, to guide, so that their future may be as good as possible. So this is a brief about the aerospace engineering. Over to Alok sir, if something more you would like to add it in terms of the research part of the aerospace, how the research is going to take place for the high-end engineering, and what are the organizations like where
All right,
you are
sir. Thank you.
working
I
is
will answer this.
contributing.
So research is actually of aspects. Research is first thing is, in doing the research is to do the design. You need to draw something. You need to come out with some ideas on the paper. Then you need to validate your ideas, whether your ideas are actually manufacturable. There are it can manufacture, or it can be virtually uh, you know created in such a way the production costs are minimal or not. So there are some technologies known as simulation, which I would like to congratulate Dr. Joshi. Like, they are having all the very best latest technologies, best softwares available on the research side of this. So research is phenomenal, and students with their innovative mind. So research is one area where a lot of HL and HL ancillaries who supplies parts to HL, they are having huge research setup, and to get the approval of one particular component for manufacturing, we need to virtually create it into through softwares. Then we need to simulate it with various things, whether it is breakable, whether the aerodynamically it is okay or not. So there are a lot of things, and UPS is doing a very good job, sir. That is what honestly I want to say.
Thank you very much. Shadab, just a question for you. What are the job opportunities in terms of airline? Because there is a conception that the airlines normally hires the licensed engineer. When you talk about the graduate engineers, you have a department known as the engineering department and a quality department. what kinds of jobs are available for engineering graduates in an airline industry, and how they are growing? Means when you look into the future prospects, how since you are working in that, how you rate that?
Thank you for the question, sir. Uh, I'll break my question in two parts. First of all, I'll try to explain what sort of opportunities a graduate engineer, especially an engineer with aerospace background, has in an airline industry, and then I'll tell about my job responsibilities in my current position as technical officer at Indigo Airlines. So, firstly, when you're done with your aerospace engineering, there are three verticals. I'll just, if you don't mind, Sudhisha, I'll just zoom out the question in terms of opportunities on a whole for aerospace and avionics students. So we've got three pillars in terms of employment in after you are done with your aerospace and your avionics or aeronautics engineering for that matter. I hope everybody knows the difference between aeronautics and aerospace. So there are three pillars. First of all goes the aerospace industry, aerospace manufacturing design industry, which incorporates R&D, as Mr. Alok said, simulation, introducing an idea on paper, then simulating it, and then finding whether it is manufacturing, worthy to be manufactured, economically feasible. There are n number of things. Then the second pillar is the airline industry, obviously, which goes on the consumer end of all the equipments manufactured by the tier 1 and tier 2 OEMs in the aerospace industry. And in my perspective, some might disagree with it, but my understanding in the past 3 years in the industry and 4 years while pursuing this degree is that there is a third vertical as well, which is the aviation consultancy firms. So these firms are actually backstage people who are supposed to act like a bridge between the airline industry and the aerospace industry. For an instance, if you have any query of how to implement operations at a given airport in the country, right? So as an airline, you will seek out professionals who have experience, expertise, and some algorithms and softwares which can help the airline to implement a plan on how to execute their operations in that particular airport. So they reach out to an aviation consultancy firm. There is CAPA, there is ICF, and there are n number of companies who have their offices in India, in Asia. And they are ever growing industries there. They have their offices in Gurgaon, for example. I stay in Gurgaon, so I can tell you about that. ICF has their office, CAPA has their office, and so on and so forth. So when an airline reaches out to an aviation consultancy firm, the aviation consultancy firm gives their resources to the airline and connects them with the appropriate aerospace manufacturer, which then provides them with the resources, whatever equipment they require to set up operations, whatever radar equipment is there, ground equipment is there is communication, navigation equipment, air traffic equipments are there, which the aerospace client will provide to the airline client. So n number of jobs are there in all three: the aerospace industry, as Mr. Alok said, the airline industry, which I am here to represent, and the aviation consultancy industry as well, which is kind of a very underrated pillar of this trio. But they have a very huge potential. The starting salaries, if we talk about right after graduation, one thing which a candidate thinks about is the starting salary as well. So the starting salaries specifically in the aviation consultancy sectors are pretty good. If we talk about the student community and the freshers and the graduates, so salary is also a very big point of view, to be very honest, to be very candid. So there are jobs. If you talk about aerospace jobs, there are aerospace design jobs, there are CFD analyst jobs, there are landing gear system design engineers. You take any zone, because the aircraft, when you will get to study in the future, addressing the future engineers of this world, you will get to understand that there are separate zones which the aircraft is divided into, and you pick up any zone and you pick up any equipment, that particular equipment in itself can have another employment opportunity. Pitot static tube manufacturing plants are separately there in our country. There are avionic equipment manufacturers are there. There are radar equipment manufacturers are there. Then there are landing gear equipment. So I'll like to give you one example. When I was in my third year at University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, I was given an opportunity to do an internship at Mahindra Aerostructures Private Limited. As Mr. Alok and Mr. Dr. Sudhir have been talking about, Mahindra is a key player in aerospace manufacturing in India. So there they were manufacturing fuselages of, due to confidential reasons, I think I can't tell you the aircraft model, but they were manufacturing fuselages and landing gear system of a particular 40-seater aircrafts in joint venture with an Australian representative of Airbus. So India has a lot of opportunities in the aerospace sector. You can just pick up any equipment on an aircraft, be it in the fuselage, be it in the cargo bay doors, avionic equipment, the strobe lights, and number of opportunities are there. And then there are simulation softwares. CATIA is there, ANSYS is there, Flowdyne is there. Then there is meshing softwares are there. Then there is finite element analysis engineers are there. So the list is endless. Coming to the airline industry, and I'd like to inaugurate my role as well in the airline industry. Airline industry mainly comprises of type-rated engineers and non-type-rated engineers. So the type-rated engineers are the engineers who are given the certification by the appropriate OEM. For example, if you are working in Indigo, I'll take it as an example. If you're working in Indigo Airlines, we have a fleet of Airbus A320 aircraft, which are 186 seaters, and we have a fleet of A321 aircraft, which are 250 seaters, and we have a fleet of ATR aircrafts, which are 72 seaters, which are turboprop aircrafts. So all these three aircrafts are manufactured by Airbus, and ATR is manufactured by Airbus and ATR as a combined venture. So Airbus gives type rating to the engineers to work on these aircrafts. For example, we have A320s, so A320 type rating is separate, and so on and so forth. So there are these type rated engineers who are certified to work on the entire aircraft. There are B1 type rated engineers who are certified as aircraft structural engineers, and there are B2 engineers who are certified to work on the avionics equipment of the engineers. So there are the second type of employees in an airline are non-type rated engineers, or we can call them graduate engineers. So graduate, like I am a graduate engineer in the Indigo Airlines. So I am a part of the quality assurance and technical services wing of the engineering department of the Indigo Airlines. So our main job is to maintain the aircraft to be airworthy at all times. Now the engineer, obviously the type-rated engineers obviously are supposed to perform certain operations, maintenance checks and everything on the aircraft. But without our guidance, these engineers cannot perform simultaneous checks and simultaneous operations on the aircraft. It is the quality department, it is the engineering department, to be on a bigger picture, which calculates the number of the number of flight hours, the number of flight cycles after which any given check or maintenance procedure has to be carried out on any particular aircraft. We have a fleet of 261 aircrafts as on date on Indigo, and it's still counting. Just to add the COVID-19 phenomenon here, despite of the COVID-19 phenomenon, we are still receiving aircraft deliveries. Nothing stops. These pandemics, financial crunches, all these things keep on happening. These are part and parcel of life. But in the background, whatever necessary industries are there, they keep on functioning like they are. I'm also working. I think Mr. Alok is also working consistently, yes, right? And Dr. Sudhir is also working. So it just takes some time to adapt to the changes around us, and we are back to square one again after some time. It's just that transition period is a little tough, but that does not mean that it's kind of a termination point, right? So getting back to the point, without the aid of the engineering department, so engineering department is split into quality assurances there, which I am a part. The engineering department has procurement and logistics team, which is responsible to procure any equipment through vendors situated in any part of the world, whether be it an APU, auxiliary power unit, an engine, or a small pitot static tube, let's say. So without equipments, the engineers cannot perform any operations. So this particular team is required to procure those equipments from any part of the world. You name it, there are vendors around. Then there is a team called routing team. That team is kind of responsible to allocate aircrafts. So it is kind of that team which makes the timetable of the aircraft movement. At any given point of time, which aircraft tail sign is supposed to be at which airport, at which particular time zone, and at what time it's supposed to fly back to its night-halt station. So there are n number of opportunities. It does not necessarily mean that if you are from aircraft maintenance engineering background that you can work in an airline. It's not like that. And if you want to switch towards being an aircraft maintenance engineer, as I talked before, you can go for clearing DGCA papers, which are not that tough. Once you have the knowledge which, let's say, my college imparted to me during the 4 years of aerospace engineering, after you have that knowledge, these DGCA papers are going to be very easy for you, right? Because all the basic fundamentals of aerostructures, aerodynamics, CFD, avionics, aircraft equipments, aircraft flight instruments, you name it, this knowledge is imparted to us during the 4 years of our study in BTech Aerospace and Avionics degree program at UPS. So with the help of that, you can clear the DGCA exams, and after that, your organization will aid you to get type rating license from Airbus or Boeing, whosoever is the OEM, and then you can become an aircraft maintenance engineer as well. It is just a matter of entering the industry. For that, you need to have BTech in aerospace or BTech in avionics or BTech in aeronautics engineering, but aerospace is actually a higher form of aeronautics. It covers aeronautics as well as space flight vehicles. So you should have basic knowledge. And one more thing I'd like to add on a personal scale, there are people in my company who are from mechanical background as well, mechanical engineering background. But there is a slight difference. When I am handling, let's say, an equipment or component removed from the aircraft, I know that this is a TCAS, this is a traffic collision avoidance system computer. What it does and what it's worth for the aircraft. But if a mechanical engineering background student is handling that component removal, he has no idea what a TCAS is. So if you are working on something and you don't know the fundamentals of that thing, it's kind of irrelevant to work on it. Aerospace engineering gives you the perfect background, because when I have all that knowledge in my head and I am going to work every day, I know what I'm dealing with, right? And if I want to pursue towards aircraft maintenance, I can just clear some DGCA papers. Again, aerospace engineering will help me into that. And I can clear those papers and I can work hands-on on the aircraft as well. And Indigo gave me an opportunity of going for an aircraft delivery. So Airbus has its manufacturing plants in Toulouse, France, and Germany, Hamburg. So I went for an aircraft delivery of an ATR aircraft, 72-seater aircraft. I went as a quality assurance technical officer, and I was supposed to carry out the quality check of the entire aircraft. I was supposed to check whether that aircraft is airworthy and it meets all the delivery requirements which Airbus is supposed to meet before it delivers the aircraft to Indigo. And if you go to any Airbus manufacturing plant in Toulouse, France, you can see, like, in just 1 acre, I mean, not just 1 acre, in the entire complex of Airbus manufacturing, there are players like Rockwell Collins, there are players like Honeywell, there are players like General Electric. All these industry players are right inside the Airbus complex. We have been using Honeywell's name and Rockwell Collins' name like anything in this discussion, and these players are present right inside the Airbus complex. And the same goes with India as well. You are not supposed to be constricted with whatever opportunities you have inside the country, but what if aerospace industry takes you outside the country as well? There are manufacturing plants in France, in Germany, in Spain, in Barcelona. All these manufacturing plants are meant for aerospace engineers. So I think it sums up the amazing number of opportunities the aerospace and avionics industry gives us. It's just the amount of efforts you need to put in. All the resources are there in our university. All the equipments are there. There's a wind tunnel. There's a simulator as well, which I think Dr. Sudhir, by mistake, stated. There's an aircraft simulator there with state-of-the-art aircraft simulator. We used it when I was there in my last final year. So you just have to put in ample amount of effort and get to that point where no industry, no organization can refuse giving employment to you.
Thank you, Shadab, for giving the complete oversight of the engineering, aerospace and avionics engineering. I think it's now time for we should address some of the few queries what you are getting from the students. Over to Alok Saab. Mr. Alok, there is a concern from the query, and you are the right person who can address this from the industry's perspective. With the drop in the economy, it is wise to take up aerospace engineering?
Absolutely, sir. And
just for a minute, I just request, because of the time constraint, can you concise your answers in the short so that we can address the maximum number of queries?
Absolutely. I mean, I will strongly recommend the student look, the broader sense. I mean, when this COVID is a short duration things. I mean, it will be definitely get over. So this this thing will, definitely will get over, and it will give you a lot of benefit in terms of opportunities and all.
Thank you. Particularly the kinds of you have seen day before yesterday by the finance minister, the FDI which has been increased from.
Yeah. So FDI, sir, I mean, FDI, as I said, sir, it is 71%, and every company which is not present in India, they are, it is just a carrot to them to, to come and, start investing, start manufacturing in India, who all are not present. So this is the right time to, people who is joining aerospace now. After 4 years, it will be very good opportunity for all of them, sir.
Thank you very much. I think the same answer we have already addressed the query. What is the scope of aerospace engineering in commercial aviation post-COVID? So Shadab has, I think, mostly addressed this query.
In fact, I would like to add, I mean, aerospace engineer not limit himself or herself or only in the aerospace domain. He can also join, Maruti. Avionic design and the wind flow testing across the two-wheeler and four-wheeler is also equivalent. It is necessary things. So wind thrust, everybody want to reduce it. The pressure of the air and your effectiveness of the design, that is we say as a thrust. So everybody want, their vehicle should move very fast and the resistance of the air will be very low. So aerospace engineer should not limit himself only for aerospace. I mean, aerospace definitely is a good branch, but later he can go to, automotive. It can, they can go to anywhere else also.
Yeah, that's what we normally say. It's the shape, the kind of shape what is coming in these days. We call it as an aerodynamically shape.
Yes.
Aerodynamics. So it basically comes from the this branch of engineering. That's the best part. Okay. What's the difference between an aerospace and avionics? Okay. See, I have clearly given you that the idea behind that. Aerospace is a branch of engineering which deals with the design, analysis of aircraft, spacecraft. You do the structure analysis, you study some more about the helicopters, rockets, missile in depth. But when you come into the aircraft electronics, the aerospace electronics portion comes under the branch name is avionics. So here you are going to learn a part of the aerospace, what is required, and then the majority of the portion will be covered the aircraft avionics system like radar, navigation, controls, the aircraft instruments. And when you talk about the aircraft instruments, when the aircraft turns, so how it turns? What are the instruments that record the turning radius? So turn and slip indicator you have. The aircraft is flying at certain altitude, how you measure that altitude. So all these instruments, though they are mechanical, but now they are all electronics and what you call as the avionics. So aircraft electronics or aerospace electronics is basically an avionics part. Good afternoon, sir. What is the aerospace engineering all about, and how can we pursue this career? Shadab, you have been to the part of the UPS, did the engineering from here. It will be good if you to answer this question. What is aerospace engineering all about, and how can we pursue this career in a very short way?
Aerospace engineering, as Dr. Sudhir told you about, is all about how an aircraft or an air supported system takes off from the ground, how it takes off, how it maneuvers in the air, how it maneuvers from the atmosphere to outer space, and how it enters the atmosphere and how it lands back. Everything starting from takeoff to changing atmospheres to changing into subspace flight, subsonic flight, to re-entry vehicles and to touchdown to landing gear systems. Everything is encompassed in the aerospace industry. But as Mr. Alok said, aerospace industry not just limits towards airspace vehicles, it can also be used in other industries like the automotive industries, the airfoil design. To pursue aerospace engineering, all you need to have is basic physics, chemistry, maths in your 12th standard. And I think University of Petroleum and Energy Studies has all the ample resources and the state-of-the-art facilities and the faculty to give that opportunity to you to work in the aerospace industry.
Fine. I'll just conclude with this regarding to the aerospace engineering, or whether it's an aerospace or it's an aerospace with a specialization in avionics. There is the best part I'll just address in a 2 line. It is one of the most important branch of the engineering which has helped the mankind, which has helped the human to dominate in the sky and above. This is one of the most important branch of the engineering which has helped the humankind to dominate in the skies and above. Right now what we see Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan, and then you have the suborbital flights. But all these things, these are just came from the aerospace engineering. I would like to know about the prospects for freshers in the following field: CFD, design engineer, trainee aeronautical analyst. Mr. Alok, Mr. Alok, since you are in the same simulation line, can you address the job prospects in the CFD, design engineer, and trainee aeronautical analyst?
Yeah, I can. Thank you, sir. So CFD is a computational fluid dynamics. After completing of this 4-year course with UPS, I mean, a person who understand the basic all these aerospace OEM plus their tier suppliers, they have a design and simulation department where at least every year they will be coming up with various concepts. So to capitalize those concepts they need lot of fresh ideas, and the fresh ideas will come from only the fresh minds and who know their concepts and who learns their subject thorough. So after doing this aerospace engineering, all these design CFDs are a very huge requirement to all these tier suppliers. And in terms of CFD, I mean, CFD is required everywhere. It is required in automotive industries. It is required in thermal power plant. I mean, as a Fluidin, I mean, we are working very closely with in oil and gas industry. So don't limit yourself. I mean, if you learn one concept properly, you can go to any industry. I mean, CFD is used in petrochemical industry to analyze whether the flow is proper or not. We are working very closely with IOCL Panipat, and we are helping them to boost up their lines. So if you understand 1 or 2 concept properly, and don't worry, I mean, jobs will be there. So you need to just follow the guidelines.
Okay, so there is one query. We find comparatively less number of campus placement in this field. Why is it so? Lipakshi Venkataraman has asked this question. We find comparatively less number of campus placement in this field. Why is it so? For a person like me who's dreaming only about the aerospace engineering, is it a major concern? No, it is not a major concern. A person, if you have a determination to join the aerospace organization, to join the aerospace engineering, you should go ahead with your dream branch. It is not about the campus placements. Let me tell you that the placements of UPS has always been in the top priority. Look into the record. Till date, the School of Engineering has a very good number of the placements. You have your alumni sitting in front of you, Shadab, who got selected from the campus recruitment into the Indigo Airlines. There are organizations where the organizations very rarely visits. They used to come to UPS for the campus recruitment. Tata Advanced System, which is one of the leading manufacturing for the Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Airbus components in Hyderabad, used to regular visit to the UPS. Mahindra Aerospace, there's the recruitment from the UPS. Talk about any of the organizations, Airbus, you will find our students are working there. Boeing, you will find the UPS students are working there. You take the GE is having one of the biggest second development center in India. UPS students are working there. Don't just look into the other numbers, what the other things are carrying on. When we talk about our part, what we give to the students, think of this, I'll just mention you about the COVID part. During this, when the complete lockdown process is there from the last couple of months, UPS has taken all the measures in guiding the students in each and every aspect. We have given the students to access to the Coursera, where the students are doing the online learning for different courses, apart from the regular leadership development, programming skills, digital skill, and we have given the free access to the students. Masterclass session, as I mentioned, brought the industry to the directly to the students. By virtually, we have brought almost the industry connects from each and every organizations. Just to mention that today we are having a webinar from one of the world biggest, there is no such other big organization in the world, what we call as a NASA. Their flight director is going to address to the students of UPS today. Think of that, that person was responsible for the mission segment. So when these kinds of opportunity we are giving to the students, how we can not be sure that our students won't be in the top-notch organizations in the world, and they are working right now. Okay, so what are the responsibility of the aerospace engineer? They have to be the design engineer, they have to be the quality engineer, they have to be the stress analysis engineer, everywhere where the safety is concerned, because we don't expect the students, we don't expect the engineers to be 0.0% also, 0.1% also. Negligence is not allowed. Shadab is the one who is working in the airlines, is the one who can justify the answer that how crucial the aerospace engineer is when in terms of the safety.
Sir, first of all, I'd like to clarify one point that if you are interested in joining the aerospace industry or the avionics industry, you should focus on learning. You should focus on gathering knowledge. And when at the end of your degree, you have the amount of knowledge and the amount of education you are expected to have, any big player in the market will be more than obliged to take you as an employee. You should focus on learning, you should focus on gathering knowledge rather than focusing on the end product. It's it's as if you're looking for a shortcut to get a good job. It does not work like that. You have to go through the journey to reach the end. You should
Absolutely.
not.
I want to add one thing. I mean, if you are, I mean, more creative, I mean, if you, feel like I am more creative, you can, become a design or CFD or, this type of engineers. So, I mean, you need to judge yourself within 4 years of your journey. I mean, today you will be more creative, but later after, a year time, you will realize that, oh, I mean, this is what I'm just thinking to adopt as a career. So, as on today, it is difficult to answer this. I mean, sorry, Shadab, please go ahead.
No, sir, it's absolutely fine. I'd like to, like, on just what Alok sir said, I'd like to add just one more thing, keeping it brief, as Dr. Sudhir asked me to. When I started aerospace, aerostructures was my thing. I used to love aerostructures and how these beautiful machines are designed and how the flow of air goes around them and all that. But when I got to learn all the subjects, I got to understand that it's not aerostructures, it's aerodynamics which I'm inclined towards.
Okay.
So if you don't gather the knowledge, you will not understand the difference between what's required at the end product, at the end segment, right? So you have to understand all the subjects and all the areas of expertise first. You have to understand what you are good at, and then obviously you have to get towards the job part.
Thank you, Shadab. There is another question. Please share the companies in India that took for aerospace and aeronautical engineering. Already so many times I have listed that. So when you talk about the private players, there are n numbers of company. Fludyne is there, Fluent is there, then you have Tata Advanced System. When you talk about the manufacturing, Tata Advanced System, Mahindra Aerospace, then you have Reliance. When you talk about engineering services, where you provide a high-end engineering solutions to the organization, you have Cyient, you have Quest Global, you have TCS. TCS has a dedicated aerospace center where they work for the Boeing. Then you have Fludyne, you have Fluent who do the simulation part. Then you have the airlines which look into the MRO side and maintenance aspect. So there are n numbers of companies which recruit the aerospace engineers. So what about the space research? Already mentioned that Gaganyaan is the one came from Chandrayaan to Mangalyaan. All these the space research in India is just growing now. There is many opportunities in that area. Suppose I do not get admission into the aeronautical engineering, then which engineering line to choose? I think you should, our sales and marketing department will get back to you in this. It is commonly considered that what is the requirement to launch it very quickly. The scope of aircraft maintenance engineering.
Okay. So aircraft maintenance engineering is slightly different than aerospace engineering. Aircraft maintenance, the one difference, the basic difference is that aerospace industry or aerospace engineering plays with the basic design of the vehicle, whether it's an aircraft, it's a helicopter, it's a spacecraft. It plays with the basic design. Aircraft maintenance, on the other hand, focuses on maintaining the design which is being provided by the OEM. So that's the basic difference. And if you want to pursue aircraft maintenance engineering, first of all, you have to start from fundamentals. You need to have the basic knowledge of all the subjects, aircraft structures, aerodynamics, CFDs, flight mechanics, you name it. And then you need to clear the DGCA papers. And then you need to get type rated, licensed by the particular OEM. But for that, you need to have the basic fundamental knowledge of all the basic subjects of the aerospace and avionics engineering.
Okay. If girls can join this course and can tell they perform in the industry. Okay. Habisha Shibu. Almost, if you look into the girl percentage in this branch, 30 to 35% always the girls students were the part of this course. Even from the time, from the inception, I'm seeing this branch in the engineering. From the time I passed out in 1996 till date, almost 30 to 30% everywhere, whether you take the IT, whether you take any government engineering college or you take anywhere, the girls students are a part of this course. The very best example is Kalpana Chawla. She was a girl student of the aerospace engineering who just went to NASA to fulfill her dream. So that's the answer for that. There is no such thing that the girl students are not joining. They are joining and they are joining much like the boys students. What is the engineering graduate to fulfill the aerospace engineering? Sir, I'm interested in this piece. Okay. Will we have internship in this course? So the answer is yes. Even in the month of January, we have taken our students to the industrial visit. And after the industrial visit, they do 8 weeks of summer internships into the various government organizations. So will there be a recorded video of this lecture? Should I take aeronautical or aerospace engineering? Both are basically the same. When you talk about the aerospace or the aerospace engineering, both are almost the same. When you talk about the aeronautical, it is only the aircraft. When you talk about the space, outer space also you take into the account, the space shuttle, the rockets, the missile. So in the aerospace, you are going to learn about the aircraft technology, helicopter technology, and also the space engineering. Okay. Hello, sir. Can you please say about the DGCA exams? DGCA exams, once you graduate from the aeronautical aerospace engineering, and if you want to join the airlines, and that too, if you want to become an license or maintenance engineer in that, then you have to qualify the DGCA license examination. If you really want to do something on the aircraft and you want to do the maintenance activity, then you need to have a license. Shadad is there who can give you more clarity on that. Shadad, the question is, please say about the DGCA examination.
Okay, so DGCA examinations are dependent on what role you are seeking. There are roles for flight dispatchers. There are roles for aircraft maintenance engineers, which comprises of B1 engineer, which looks after aircraft structures, and B2 engineer, which looks after avionics of the cockpit equipment. And then there are pilots entrance type rating exams, which DGCA offers. So you have to clear these exams, and then there will be a Viva. You have to clear that Viva, and then your certification is done. And then you have to maintain a logbook to enter your flight hours and flight cycles. But for that, you need to have the fundamentals cleared. And to answer the previous question also, I think aerospace is a superset of aeronautics. So aerospace engineering is the more diverse option amongst the two.
The other question is how to get into DRDO to be an aerospace engineer. There is an open recruitment process from the DRDO.
Yes.
They advertise, and once they advertise, you have to apply for that. You have to have a valid GATE score for that. After the graduation of the aeronautical in aerospace engineering, you have to write the GATE examination, get the GATE score, and then you have to fill it up the DRDO recruitment form to get a scientist job. Many of our students and alumni are working in the organization. Sir, tell some branches about the space engineering, aerospace. Here, Apart from the aircraft, you study rocket propulsion, then space orbital mechanics, and space science and space environment as an additional subject. I want to become a scientist in the ISRO regarding space. What course should I choose? You can choose BTech Aerospace or BTech Aerospace with a specialization in avionics. So the ISRO recruit separately for BTech Aerospace and for the avionics stream. What is the scope of space research in India? Is it better here or abroad? Alok sir?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, in India, I mean, all these R&D are happening. If you look at R&D profile, R&D means research and development. So whoever, I mean, coming up with a very new concept, so they first do R&D of that particular project, whether it is designable, manufacturable, or anything. So uh, in India and abroad, everywhere you find wherever R&D is there, at least 35 to 40% top-notch scientists are Indian origin. So India companies are coming because Indian brains are very, quantitative and qualitative, both the natures, and they grasp the technologies. And second is like Indian manpowers are very cheap. I mean, you can open an office in Silicon Valley, and in Bangalore also you can outsource some of the job, as Dr. Joshi said. TCS is doing, Infosys is doing, and our company is a French company, by the way. I mean, we are having a strength of 45 engineers. So, and in France we have only 22 engineers. So you can look at the companies. I mean, they are more profitable if they do R&D in India. So India is also, I mean, I can't say that India is having every R&D is being done over here, but India is going to be a big market for the R&D, because R&D anyway is very better. Qualitative R&D is very much available in India, and Indian companies are taking up very seriously. Infosys, HCL, Wipro, they are having their own aerospace division. Plus, General Electrics and BEL. I mean, we have not spoken about the BEL, Bharat Dynamics, and all. They are, I mean, they are huge setup. I mean, people are just thinking aerospace is just, I mean, reaching to ISRO and DRDO. So BEL, BEML, Bharat Earth Movers Limited, they are also huge. I mean, the tanks what Indian companies are making, they are manufactured by BEL, BEML. Then Cell is there. A lot of Indian companies are there. Then a lot of suppliers are there. So R&D in India is having very good opportunities. I mean, you should. I strongly recommend students. I mean, they should learn their basics in colleges, prestigious colleges like UPS, and they focus on their academics. And after completing of their 4 years, they should decide whether they should go for CFD oriented, means R&D oriented company, or they should go for maintenance related or structure related job, or they should go for a production basis. So first thing is you should at least learn the subject properly. So I have added a lot of things into it. So I think I hope I answered everything.
Yeah. Very frequently this question is asked and repeated. This question is coming into the chat box. Is aerospace engineering is the best boost start for becoming an astronaut? Yes, the answer is yes.
Basics, basics we will learn in aerospace only, sir.
Yeah, to become an astronaut, you need to be a primary degree of the aerospace engineering. Looking into the astronauts, again, I'll give you quote an example of Kalpana Chawla. She was an aeronautical engineer. So, so if you want to become a astronaut, aerospace engineering, or aerospace with if you want to become an astronaut with some good knowledge in the electronic side, then the other option is the avionics engineer, because avionics is also an aerospace electronics, where you learn more about the electronics parts of the space system. What are the opportunity available both in private and government sector for a person who has pursued pure physics in research? The only just what are the okay. What higher studies available after completing BTech Aerospace, and what are the better scope doing higher studies? The answer is in a very different form. It depends upon the kinds of things you develop during the entire 4-year duration. During the 4 year of your course, if you develop a kind of culture related to maintenance aspects, then the job may be your immediate job to join the HAL, to join the airline industry, or to join some of the marketing side of the aerospace. But if you have a research oriented and has an opportunity to join the leading organizations like ISRO or some of the bigger giants like Airbus, then the best option is the higher studies MTech in aerospace. Those who have the inclination during their graduation of the 4 year toward the different side of the aerospace engineering, like quality aspects of the aerospace engineering, and they should learn some additional things in the aerospace like quality management courses. Then you have another futures in the quality aspects of the engineering side. Some may develop the interest toward the simulation side. Then in that part also you can do the higher education like MTech Computational Fluid Dynamics, MTech Aerospace Engineering, and join the world leader organizations like Fluidigm or Fluent, or there are many more organizations. So higher education has different aspects. If you are interested in learning more and more, no one can stop. Learn, and knowledge always plays an important role. So you have MTech Aerospace, MTech Computational Fluid Dynamics, and MTech Avionics Engineering. After BTech, the job opportunities are there in many of the organizations. HAL, they take directly the grade 2 engineers, what you call as the engineer. Tata Advanced System takes directly the undergraduate level. Mahindra Aerospace take directly. Tata TCS, Tata Consultancy, they have a dedicated aerospace. They take the undergraduate students. There are many organizations. Sir, how to join the ISRO? So if you want to join the ISRO in the aerospace domain, because an organization will have multiple areas to work. They will have even the mathematics also, they will have even the chemistry also, chemical engineering also. But if you want to join the ISRO, as the name indicates, Indian Space Research Organization, and want to work in the space side of it, then you have to have a degree of BTech Aerospace Engineering or BTech Aerospace with a specialization in avionics. So then only you can excel your career into the Indian Space Research Organization, working in space side of it. This question is already addressed. I'll again ask Mr. Alok to address in a very short part. Sir, how is aerospace engineering better than other field of engineering in terms of the scope after COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay, so as we have discussed so many times during this webinar, COVID is a short phenomena. It will definitely pass over. But what is after COVID? If you strong on your fundamentals, I mean, in aerospace domain, there are multiple disciplinaries. I mean, there is avionics, there is a structure part of it, there is a CFD part of it. So opportunities, you can not only go suppose after 4 years you realize, I want to join Maruti Suzuki, or I want to design a car, which is, in the first gear it will move like this, and there will be a lot of less air resistance. Then you have a basic knowledge from your aerospace engineering, the CFD, what you will be learning from UPS. It will be taught very fundamentally, plus on the software side. And further, if you want to join, let's say, a petrochemical industry or a fertilizer industry, for example, if you want to join, the Balrampur Chini, and you want to do some sort of analysis in other things, so it is having utilization in each and every industry. So aerospace is a subset of all. Uh, it the topics what you are going to learn in the aerospace industry will be used or most of the industry. I mean, I can say it's the best branch of the mechanical side. People want to learn the best subject in I mean, which are the demand in the industry. Plus, after COVID, as I said so many times, there will be a lot of FDIs inflows. R&D companies are coming. Manufacturings are starting up. Defense corridors are building up. The OEM and the tier manufacturers are coming. So opportunities are enormous. I mean, we need to first make our fundamentals and basics more clear, which you will definitely learn in the college itself. So I I think I made my point very clear.
Okay, sir. I think the time is already 5:30, and we are running a little short of time. So I just want to convey my thanks to all the panelists, and there are many questions still left, but I request all the participants who have posed the question to just post it in the query box so that your question can be answered by the respective team. And to once again, I just want to give you a very short note that the aerospace engineering or the aerospace with a specialization in avionics is one of the very important branch of engineering which has helped the humankind to dominate in the sky and above. With this, I thank Mr. Alok and Mr. Shadab for joining us for the session, and the rest of the queries will be addressed by the concerned team. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Thanks, Sadaf.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yoshi sir. Thank you, Alok sir.
Thank you.